balanced house. I'm not sure that we had a full balanced house. I can tell you stories about the ultra-religious parties that participated, and in no time they came back with changing of the mind in 180 degrees because of silly issues. For example, Eli Yishai would tell me, Menachem, there is no way that I support the change of the basic law on or the article on the process of elections, because what happens if the ultra-Orthodox, non-Sephardic, Ashkenazi parties disappear or break into two pieces, one of them will come to us, then we do not have any chance of having our leaders to take over. So I thought to myself, it's a very deep reason. I mean, that these parties become small, and the contrary, look what happened to the other parties. It became one strong party, from my point of view, very positive result. Lieberman didn't mean it, bless you. But who cares? The result is meaningful. So number one, I would not recommend that it is done nowadays. I do believe that one time when a prime minister wants to go to the horizon on a white horse and to have his memory remembered not only by the years he served or she served, but also by basic or profound processes that he took the Israeli society to, he or she would take from the drawer the constitution, and she will be regarded as the constitutional person of the state of John Adams, whomever. It will be somebody with a very deep historical awareness. It wasn't my drive, by the way. I am humble medievalist. What would have happened if we had a constitution? I think that part of the tension, and even nowadays you have this law and another law, families were a union. Why should you go from one place to another? Why do you should re-legislate it? It's written now, freedom, accepted or no. Always somebody will be dissatisfied, but you know your limits. And Supreme Courts know exactly what is the basis of its activities. It's better for the Supreme Court. I spoke with many of the justices. You know that 10 out of the 13 are alumni of the Hebrew University. Some of them are even taught in our faculties, members of me, friends of mine. So I think that they would feel much happier if they had more generous basic for the decisions. What would happen also? Here I may fool myself. Not 5,000 bills will be put on the table of the Knesset, but only 2,000. Because people know that the members of the Knesset will know. I'll take another question. Where you are in Jerusalem, you always come and ask me.
Omer.
Yes. My name is Omer Michaelis. I'm a PhD candidate in Tel Aviv School of Philosophy. You've mentioned the narrow-minded argument of the Likud party, we will not sign a constitution that we...
Menachem Ben Sasson is writing. I was that important.
But during the many deliberations on the constitution, what, if I may ask, what was the most persuasive argument that is locally specific to the Israeli context that you've encountered against drafting a constitution for Israel?
I'll give you an example. Shlomo Avineri, for example, a great professor of political sciences in Israel. He's a professor with us. He was Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, very much involved. You read him in English, in German, many times. He told me that the giving up on values, on ideas that people have to, whenever writing a constitution, does not pay not only the process but also the results. And I'll give you an example, because I talk about it openly in the committee. I said to the members of, let's say, of the very left and of the very right, I'm going to take this article to have your opinion and your opinion. You choose who's the left, who's the right. And you'll get your version and your version. And the one said to me, I can say she's a professor of law in our faculty of law. She said, Menachem, there is no way that I let you take this opposite point of view, because There might be an option that this very right one, she's very left, it's social issues, that this very right one will be accepted. There is no way that I will let you. We'll go, we'll demonstrate, we'll go to the streets. You won't get it. And that's one of the translations of what Shlomo always says. He says, you do not have to waste your time on these issues. There is too much of giving up in such a process. So here come American friends of Israel, or not of Israel, as tourists to my committee, and I'm telling them seriously that I'm trying to draft a constitution. So he tells me, this Philadelphian lawyer, why do you need it? Do you think that you'll use it? Ever? That's the question they asked you. Yes, it's this small book. But the question was, is it too small of a letter? So we have one, we don't use it. So then came the Canadians. I asked them, look, you have the Charter of Rights, the overriding method. You have got Quebec, you've got all of this. Canada is a great example. Kotler, who was then the Minister of Justice, also a mute member of the Faculty of Law of us, told me, Kotler told me that the method of dealing with the minorities was the following. The room was open. So you're minority number one, you've got 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. You say whatever you want, you go out. 9 to 10, there is another minority. It's you, your turn. You come, you say what. First of all, the hearing, deliberations is important. Then you write something in between. Everybody is unhappy, but you wrote something. The end of the process, some bridge between the gaps was made. So the process of making is by itself important. So let's dream together. Let's fool ourselves. Imagination is always free, and you can enjoy it. You can enjoy it in many fields. If it does not infiltrate daily life. So let's dream that we were after this voting of January 2009. And we start now fighting on 10 issues. And we have already an organizing method of the Israeli system. It takes time. We had another layer of deliberation between people. Not killing each other by talking with each other. That was the dream. Let's talk about freedom of speech. Let's talk about freedom of religion or from religion. Let's talk about the width of the roads that the Arabs have in Israel whenever it's defined. Culture and education and other elements that were written in the Constitution. So you've got another arena to talk about, and this is an already accepted arena that you can talk about. You can change Constitution, even in the United States. Here we created a process of changing it. You do not dream that you can write a Constitution forever. But it was an interesting process, and it was in these hands, and I'd like to answer on one question that I wasn't asked. If you had an opportunity to go back to the Knesset, that's not a question, and you can legislate one basic law, what would be the basic law that you legislate? I'll tell you, and I'm sorry that I didn't do it. At that time I had the power and the opportunity. I would legislate the basic law of freedom of research and freedom of teaching. It's a law of higher education, but it's not hooked as a basic law. And now, as the president of the university, I know that I would love to have it, but I took a revenge from university presidents. We wrote around, check me, maybe around 200 articles, huge law on contracts, on bids, חוזים, yes, חובת המכרזים, on bids, in order to have a bid. Tenders. On tenders. It's a huge, as I said, 200 and something articles. There is no way that I curse the person who wrote it, but I thank him at the same time because it gave us an opportunity to check our processes and not only ourselves, but the whole process of accepting companies. You can know how much did they pay to have a public relation person for the police, even though they have a department of public relations of 250 people. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, my time is over. You have to go to the serious work.
Okay.
You had an hour of storytelling. Thank you.
Many thanks from our side. Thank you. Thank you for coming and joining. In the end, why was the charter not adopted? Was it not even voted on?
No, we couldn't isolate the job because the story is that Ehud Olmert resigned.
Okay, I asked why in the end, after all these talks.
Why there is no happy end to this story?
Yes, he didn't tell us, I think.
But I thought that you know that Ehud Olmert had to resign. The parliament disappeared, and I was given 1/3 of my service as a mercy period back to the university
Okay. Thank
to
you.
teach the history.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yom Tov.
Enjoy your company. You've got a great one.
Before you leave, could you mention the name of the 10th century book on interrogation? That's very interesting.
The Book of Deeds and Decrees. And the man who wrote it in the year of this one I know. In the year
Deeds and deeds.
Kitab el-Shahdat wal-Wathaiq.
Please note he cannot talk really.
So Kitab
Kitab el-Shahdat wal-Wathaiq. Shahadat, testimonies. And Wathaiq. Contract. Shahadat wal-Wathaiq.
well,
Wathaiq. Wathaiq is contract.
I don't know.
Contract. Do the deeds and decrees written by a person whose name was Sa'adia Sa'id ibn Yusuf al-Fayumi.
Interesting.
The year is 926. He wrote it in the year 926.
126.
I think that he wrote it in Basra, but I'm not sure.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Not that I know.
I need to check that one, huh?
By all
Thanks.
means.
Because that's you probably.
Yes, why?
נתתם את העברית?
I'm working on 10th century sources, but that, you know, have connection with the
רגע, איפה המתנה שנתנה לי?
Yeah.
Where's my present? That's the energy.
לא, יש שם גם את הבוקלט שלך.
כן, ראיתי. תודה רבה. אני ראיתי את זה, אמרתי בהתחלה, ראית?
האמת שאני גם יודע, בגלל שעבדתי זוכה על זה,
Is that now more included now by seeing the Constitution, or is it more
Is it constitutional, sub-constitutional? Because the Constitution, the current Constitution gives it force. Is that the question?
No, the question is part of the Constitution now, or is it just like prior constitutional law? Although
Sadly, I lived right near the
Prior constitutional law.
Actually, my parents lived there because it was like community based. Public copy because it was like I started
And therefore it would have a lower status
I don't
than the
know if you, I mean, this is
constitutional law?
like personalized, and when they built
which is only
the exit from the big
constitutional law, modern constitutional law found out that
essentially at the time kind of they were, no, it meant that they were destroying any area of
so there are
possibility
several problems with fighting each other. But that makes no reason for the civil code.
Like that
So, like the civil code changed a lot, so you have to figure which article is broken of the civil code. Where like
הריח של הציטוט הגיע עד מודיעין.
makes no sense to me.
Interesting. I need to think about that a bit more. Because here, even when we do that, if that happens, it doesn't have a different status anymore.
No, the status is the same. It's only the question of procedure when you want to challenge it in front of the court.
איזושהי בעיה, נכון? רק השאלה איך הם מקשרים על
מה, הקבוצה של הזה? מה קורה שם? היא על השק, אני איתך וכמה זמן נכנסת ורואה מה קורה שם.
Micah 6.
So what is? I don't know the smaller prophets so well.
Okay, I don't remember what. I know it off by heart in Hebrew. I'll find it for you. I'll tell you what it is in English. So like the whole chapter. My favorite is what shall I come before the Lord and bow down before the exalted God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings and with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with tens of thousands of rivers of oil? Shall I offer my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has shown to you, O mortal, what is good and what the Lord requires of you. This is my favourite verse. To act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
Micah 6:8.
Very impressive.
Like that.
She asked me what my favourite passage is.
It's a good one.
I like the idea of walking humbly with God. It's very poetic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I like the loving mercy.
Yeah.
It's two emotions, and justly because I'm a
And I
lawyer.
wonder about the Hebrew term for walking humbly, whether it would be humbly or without rebel.
Without?
Without rebel, whether it has to do with the root